It became very clear to anyone paying attention several months ago that Ukraine cannot win its war against Russia. The Ukrainian military will not be able, even with Western backing, hundreds of billions of dollars of it, to expel the Russian military from parts of eastern Ukraine.
В этот раз ничего не поменяется. Мой батя, я, мы снова выберем пи***аса. Один бы раз такого, как я, запустили бы туда кортежи, на льготы ваши, на дачи, на.
Василий Петрович Голобородько. Доброе утро, господин президент.
Only together, America and EU, only together we can stop the war.
I really believe that President Putin would like to do something. I really hope that you and President Putin get together and can solve your problem. That would be a tremendous achievement.
Ukraine doesn't have the industrial capacity, neither does NATO or the United States. And it doesn't have the people. Russia has 100 million more in population than Ukraine does.
The holiday photo call. Every leader does one. No one else does them shirt off, fish in hand. Welcome to Vladimir Putin's summer break in Siberia.
And that means that further support from the West for the Ukrainian military only means more dead Ukrainians and a further degraded Western economy in the US and in Germany particularly. So it's not simply a fool's errand, it's self-destruction. It's insane, it's cruel, it's abetting the killing of an entire generation of Ukrainians. This is very obvious. No honest person at this point will deny it.
I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine.
And yet somehow the United States Senate, which is always several years behind reality in its perceptions, just a few weeks ago decided to send another $60 billion to the Ukrainian government, which is both corrupt and authoritarian. They've canceled elections, they banned an entire Christian denomination, and then they killed an American journalist for noting any of this. And yet, the United States Senate proposed, under Mitch McConnell, a plan to send another $60 billion to Ukraine. Well, imagine the surprise of all rational people around the world to wake up this morning and discover this could actually happen.
Hello, world champions. I'm John Ward, and today on Breaking News, we are breaking the fake lie continuum. Get ready for 1.21 gigawatts, McFly, because your mind is a boomer expat, and this episode is the Bangkok Ladyboy Softball Club, and hardballs are also okay too. Also that club. Sorry, we know good English. And what I mean by that is, not only is your mind about to be blown more times than a lead in a LeBron James Finals series, it's going to get blown in ways you don't want it to. A horror in the midst of which you will realize this is the real soul crusher. You're paying for it. Let me break character for just 30 seconds to a minute. I told you this was going to happen, some very high-level thinking, and I say that not for credit. I really do not care about that, nor do I have any concerns my actions will prove it so. I do think a lot of you are sitting there saying, you did tell me, but I never disagreed, nor even needed to be told, so I simply say I know. If you're already with me, bear with me just a moment longer. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, that is okay. And it is not your fault. What I told you, and it's no different than what a lot of other people have told you, I am not singling myself out, is to get ready for some very high-level thinking, because capital I, it would just start now in 2024. Lots of people said this because lots of people saw this. Again, you might be one of them. I believe that. Just a moment longer. When I say that you are in the monomyth, the one story, the monomyth, I am talking about something I can best describe as analogous to the mathematical discovery of zero, that the story is a quantifiable unit that can be modeled. You can't hold it in your hand the way you can't hold a literal pound per square inch, yet nevertheless it is real, and it affects your life as does the sun, or perhaps to say it perfectly because I like you, as does gravity, and as does entropy. That is a story. Keep shaking your head. It shouldn't make sense yet. But I will make it make sense right now with a story.
Здрасте.
Василий Петрович Голобородько?
Да.
Доброе утро, господин президент.
Как дела? Серьезный день, ребята. Как настроение? Класс? Це не фейк, і я дуже серйозно відношусь до нашої країни, до життя кожної людини. И вот здесь, понимаешь, теперь, они заставляют детей в будки ваши строить. Знаешь, почему у нас жизнь собачья? Да потому что мы свой выбор с тобой начинаем в будках. Понятно? А выбирать-то не из кого. Из двух пи***расов выбираем меньше. И так 25 лет подряд.
Maybe the single most important moment of our lifetimes, and I'm implicitly acknowledging the hyperbole by assuming your intelligence, this is, after all, a story, happened just a few days ago when Tucker Carlson sat down with Vladimir Putin to discuss, shockingly and inexplicably for the first time since it began, the motives and morals behind the conflict in Ukraine. And immediately, before the interview even aired, if you chose to participate, though I think Wolfram is on the right track with the word compute, if you chose to compute the data, participate in the story, you immediately knew two things about the Monomyth, which is, again, your story.
I wanted to say to the First Lady just how inspiring I think the rest of the world finds you and your husband in the way that you have rallied the people of Ukraine. It's an amazing thing to watch.
The United States remains steadfast in our support for Ukraine. As a Ukrainian mother named Anna said to me, there are no borders.
The United Kingdom is proud to have stood strong in support of Ukraine. We know the Ukrainian people are not just fighting for their future. They're fighting for the future of freedom, democracy, and sovereignty itself.
Americans are devastated by the number of Ukrainians injured and killed. The images are heartbreaking. And yet, amidst extreme hardship, Ukrainians have inspired the world with your unwavering spirit and your determination to defend your country and fight for freedom. President Bush joins me in saying, Slava Ukraine, or glory to Ukraine.
But this is a disorder, right? If it's a disorder,
yes,
do you feel you're handling it the right way?
1. The ordinary world. In the Monomyth, this is the Shire. It is Simba's princedom. It is Hermann Hesse's, Harry Haller's itinerant existence in cheap apartments as he pursues the elusive capital S story, which he has sense enough to know, if not explicitly, sense enough to sense, is ultimately going to be about himself for madmen only. We learned a lot about our ordinary world before anything even happened. Why has no one tried to interview Putin for years, despite Zelensky being an indelible stain on the television? Oh, they did try. Oh, they were denied by the U.S. government. Oh, the U.S. government isn't really led by a president. But what are these elections then?
Then I was totally determined, monomaniacally dedicated to doing this interview, not simply because I want to know what Vladimir Putin is like and what he thinks about a war that is resetting the world and really gravely damaging my country's economy, but also because they told me I couldn't on the basis of illegitimate means.
In the Monomyth, this is step 2, the call to action, to adventure, to press the on button on your brain, which is to say your uniquely human soul, which is to say main character, which you are. You see the points I am hammering and the way in which I am swinging the hammer. I trust you understand it doesn't look like a house yet because this is the first 2x4. Cool. Okay. You now understand that the ordinary world is not very ordinary after all, and this realization is the genesis of the conscious awareness of this thought. Somebody should do something about this. Step 3. Refusal. Refusal of the call to adventure. This is a necessary part of the process. Do not feel bad that you are not out in the street with a musket. You are not supposed to be, yet you are asleep in a comfortable womb of familiarity, ordinary world. You are woken up or called to the existence of an ineffable problem gnawing at your mind. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad, right? But the first time you take the hero's journey, you cannot do it. You give up and go home and go back to sleep. This is the Monomyth. This is why The Matrix is good, and The Lion King is good, and The Lord of the Rings is good, and Steppenwolf is good. Classic, for all intents and purposes, universally agreed upon. And this is why the new Star Wars is bad, why Mary Sue's are bad, why it is universally agreed upon that it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like a story to anyone. What does this mean about where the monomyth exists? Or are you still hung up on me saying intensive purposes instead of intents and purposes? Did I, girl in the red, dress you because me thinking made you want to compete rather than cooperate? These aren't my ideas, these aren't new ideas, we are not competing. Putin knows this. The way I am talking might seem familiar if you pay attention to the way that he talks. It is just the same story. It is a battle of stories, a life or death contest of who can get the most people to believe their story. So Putin, who has a better understanding of this than anyone on the planet, tells us a story. And that story begins with a 30-minute description of the ordinary world. We have all woken up, we have all been called, and we have all refused. Me too. And that is okay. Frodo needed Gandalf, Simba needed Rafiki, Holler needed Pablo, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Rey. Right? 4. Meeting with the mentor. You are starting to see that these are not stages that make a good story, but real stages of the monomyth, which is also real, but not real like gravity or entropy, but real like the equations that describe them, without which things feel just as wrong as an apple falling up off of Newton's head and reattaching itself to the tree, or explosive combustion converting itself back to liquid gasoline. These analogies you can understand easily, so understand that I am saying that is why the new Star Wars feels wrong, feels bad, because without needing to be told, you know what gravity and entropy are supposed to look like, and it does not look like this. And without even needing to think, you correctly exclaim fake and gay and move on without needing to be told, because you are part of and in pursuit of, without needing to be told, the monomyth. If you do need to be told, stop now and go watch Fox News, because this does not belong to you, for madmen only. This club is not exclusive in the social sense, but in the noumenal one. I have no wings, and so the sky is not mine. If I make fake wings, I will look ridiculous. If I try to fly with them, I will die. Everyone will laugh, as they should, because the sky does not belong to me. In this way, there are other things that take wings to reach, and if you do not have them, I would rather you didn't try. You become like space garbage, and frankly, it pisses me off. Give me my money back and get out of the way. So you see, I am far too much of an asshole, and I'm aware I am far too much of an asshole to be step 4, the mentor. We've arrived at now, and I am a surrogate purely because it has to be done and no one else is doing it. 'Twould be better if you found inspiration in an older Robin Williams type mentor in Good Will Hunting, hero, ordinary world, call, refusal, mentor, spooky, or Trump, or the homeless guy down the street who you keep hoping will say why shit like a movie janitor, but oops, this is reality, so he mostly just mumbles incoherently about beer and money. I am probably a better choice than that guy, unless his name is Diogenes. So one final time I say, I know, I am aware many of you, like me, started this journey in 2016 or earlier. But many are just starting on this journey now, and we must be mindful it is our story, but their monomyth. I am not saying that backwards. The paradox is on purpose. Their one mutually exclusive story that is shared with you and me. I did say very high-level thinking, and in their story, the mentor has just taken the stage, and his name is Vladimir Putin.
We found time for open water swimming in the freezing mountain lake. Driving machines at speed, and spearfishing. A Kremlin spokesman quoted as saying the president chased a particular pike for 2 hours before, of course, snaring it. His trips definitely have a recurring theme. In the past, we've seen him topless on a horse, rock climbing, even arm wrestling someone at a summer camp. On this latest vacation, though, he even brought his defence minister along for some man-to-man bonding time. All these images released just as another president, President Trump, heads off on his summer break to a golf course. Odds are that the Russian leader's holiday snaps might just win out.
There There is a reason Tucker Carlson, who is brilliant in his own right, looked like Stellan Skarsgård collapsing in futility while clutching one of Will Hunting's casual proofs. There's a reason Will laughs and says, "Do you know how fucking easy this is for me? It's a fucking joke." Stellan is a genius, a Fields Medal winner, and he is on the floor, ruined by the epiphany of the curse he didn't know he had. There are very few people in the world who can tell the difference between someone like you and someone like me, and unfortunately, I'm one of them. But you don't go play your first chess game against Bobby Fischer. The easiest way to get exploited is to publish something you don't yet understand. You must identify and define the water in which you swim. You must set as a referent and anchor, but also breadcrumbs, your ordinary world. I've thought for a long time about how to tell this story, your story and mine, the Monomyth. I've figured it out. We begin tomorrow. Bring with you the two books you already know are a part of this. Brave New World, 1984. And I'll bring their great-grandfather a Latin poem written in 1530 called Pugna Porcora, the Pig War, upon which Orwell-based Animal Farm, and a much lesser-known interview between Tucker Carlson and a one Colonel Doug McGregor, way back from the beginning of the Ukraine conflict, in which the future that would come to pass is laid out with frightening accuracy. Do you want to know the world you live in? This week we find out, if you want to. Because I'm not joking, it is a magical theater, and it is for madmen only. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. Stop now. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. Stay, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Sooner or later, you're going to realize, just as I did, that there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. As fake and as gay as it is a story. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life, that there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?